Hey guys, this is Lorenzo from Surfy Industries. What we're trying to do today in this video is give some explanation and answer some questions regarding a product that we have launched recently, of which we're very proud, the SurfyMan. Now, the SurfyMan is a character preamp pedal that's trying to recreate the Fender Showman Brownface in a box. This starts from the development of what we call the Blossom Point, which is another product that we've been producing for years now. And I remind you that the Blossom Point is the way Dick Dale was calling the maximum level of compression before distortion in a tube amplifier. So questions about the SurfyMan and what we launched at NAMM 2026, the complementary model, the SurfyPower, which connects to it magnetically and transforms the SurfyMan preamp in a full amplifier head suitable for guitar and bass. Now, we know this stuff pretty well because we all come from surf music. We know the Brownface Showman very well. We know how it sounds, and we perfectly know the sound that we wanted to achieve with this product. So we have done our best, and so far it's going pretty well, but probably it would be good to start answering those questions, checking all the functionalities of the product, and explain you how it works and what is the best way to use these two things together to obtain the best results with your guitar. So here we go with the SurfyMan first and then the SurfyPower. The SurfyMan is literally a Showman Brownface in a box. So the controls are exactly the same of the amplifier, and I will show you how this thing works. It is powered with a power adapter 9 to 18 volts, any polarity. You can use any power adapter, whatever here. It takes everything. And normally it is quiet. You got the input jack, looking at the back controls here. You got the input jack, guitar level, so guitar signal level here. The vintage EQ, which is something that you might like a lot. It gives you that kind of middle 60s pre-equalization with a little emphasization of the bass and the high frequencies, cutting a little bit the mids and makes the sound more brilliant. It sounds more blackface, if you want to have my opinion on how that sounds, but you're gonna love it. And it sounds sparkly. It can sound more interesting if you want, rather than keeping it as, say, full EQ without the vintage EQ engaged. The out is the output at guitar signal level. Black and brown are the controls to adjust the kind of tremolo. I remind you that inside here we have our Surfy trem incorporated, so you can choose between brownface and blackface kind of tremolo. You can read on our website the specification of the Surfy trem, and the tremolo, of course, is activated with the button here. So engage or disengage, and you will have the controls of speed and intensity. This is pretty obvious. Then you're going to find the headphone output. Remember that the SurfyMan can be used as a headphone preamp. The pad that is going to cut the volume, cut the master volume of about 20 dB, and the line output, line level signal, unbalanced or balanced, to go directly to a sound card or eventually a PA system. Now, let's see the controls here. The volume, the first one, we go this direction. The volume is the gain volume of the channel. Obviously, the more you increase this, the more you reach the Blossom Point, and of course, a little bit of saturation and a lot of compression, trying to emulate the tube compression of the amplifier. You will never reach a very heavy distortion with this pedal. So it's not that if you put it at 9, you will have a distortion pedal here. You need to think it as an amplifier. So normally you reach the maximum volume with the average guitar at around 6.5. Then when you go over this, you will just increase the level of saturation and compression, and you will feel it because the sound is gonna get more aggressive, but at the same time, never, as I was saying, distorted. Obviously, the sweet spot, it depends on your guitar, mainly from the how hot your pickups are. So, of course, if you have very hot pickups, this level, this Blossom Point will be a little lower. You will have to adjust it the way you like the most. And this works together with the presence control and the master control. I'll tell you more about that. Treble and bass, remember that these two controls, like on the Fender amplifiers, are in tone stack. This means that the signal goes this way, you go in the treble first, the treble goes in the bass, so the level, the adjustment of these two pots influence each other. So you will have to find over here your sweet spot. This is my favorite, of course, trying to cut a little bit the bass and the treble, but I'm used to JBL kind of speakers, D130, D140, and I don't want too much bass to go into the sound. I want to keep it clean, and this is the configuration that I like, which is the same configuration that I'm keeping on the Showman. So the settings reflect exactly how you work on those amplifiers. Then the presence that we can call it the symbol of the Brownface era amplifier, and is the adjustable control of the negative feedback. So a little bit of the signal from the speaker output comes back into the gain section, and the more you increase the presence, the more you reduce the amount of distortion eventually that you have on the channel, but at the same time you flatten the dynamic response. So the sound, it's increasing the high frequencies, so it's getting more sparkly, and at the same time it gets more compressed, flatten the response, the dynamic response. So you have to adjust this carefully. Normally a good level to keep the sound bright, clean, is around 6 or 7. If you go over that, you will hear a substantial increase of high frequencies, but remember, it's not like the treble control. These high frequencies is obtained by flattering the response. So you will have to adjust it the way you like the most, and also this control depends a lot on the speakers that you have and the guitar you are using. Then we have the final control on the left is the master volume. We will see the use of this especially connected to an FR amplifier like the SurfyPower. In general, you tend to set this control first. Say you have, for example, the SurfyPower, you know, that puts up a certain amount of wattage of power. You set the master depending on the speaker you're using to obtain the maximum headroom, and then you adjust the volume, the gain volume consequently. But you can work at the opposite. You can keep the master volume lower and the gain volume higher to obtain a more aggressive sound, of course, exactly like in the amplifier. So again, think of this pedal as if this is your amplifier. You can keep your amplifier completely flat if you're going into a combo amp, for example, into a Roland Jets Chorus, just to mention an amplifier that is particularly flat and cold, if we want. Beautiful amplifier, very powerful, but pretty cold. This will bring into that amplifier the sound of a Brownface Fender amplifier. So think of these controls as this is your amplifier. The mute bypass, the reason why it has two names is because if you're coming out, and this is a question that we get pretty often, if you're coming out of the out from the back, so the one that is guitar level, this will bypass the effect. So obviously it will bypass fully the preamp. But if you're coming out from the line output, this button will mute the signal. So the signal will go off. It's going to be muted on this one, while the effect, we call it the effect this time, so the preamp is going to be bypassed, but the signal is still coming through if you're using the guitar output. Now, let's try to analyze what the SurfyPower does. So this is the SurfyPower amplifier module. The two things are used this way. They connect together magnetically to obtain this, all right? Now, one question that we receive often, can I just buy the SurfyPower and use it with whatever preamp I want? Yes, you can, but remember that the SurfyPower, first of all, it's designed, it's done to stick together with the SurfyMan, of course. At the same time, the SurfyPower does not have any volume control, so you have to be very careful when you use it. The perfect companion is, of course, the SurfyMan, but again, Can you use it with anything else? Yes, you can, but you have to be careful. You will use it anyway with any other preamp if you really want, the same way you use it with the SurfyMan. So make sure that you turn always your master volume down to 0 and connect everything before turning it on. So let's get back to the connection of these two. So I was explaining the difference in use between the guitar output and the line output of the SurfyMan. So we're going to connect the SurfyMan and SurfyPower with the supply jack cable going out of the line output. And we're going to power the SurfyMan directly from the SurfyPower with the redundant 12-volt power. These two cables are provided in the package. The SurfyPower is powered with a custom-made 36 volts power adapter. We supply it with the proper cable, EU, US, and UK, depending on where you are, although obviously the power adapter, like most power adapters nowadays, is suitable for any voltage. This is going to go in here in the 36 volts DC in, and you power the whole unit. You also have a spare 12 volt 1 amp output that you can use to power, for example, a SurfyPower directly. So again, these two cables are provided together in the package. You connect the whole thing first. You connect the line output. Why the line output? Another question. Because the line output, when we connect something with the line output, when we use the mute button, it actually mutes the channel. So it puts the amplifier in standby, exactly like your amplifier. This is why I was saying, try to treat these controls as the controls of your amplifier. And in this case, when connected to the SurfyPower, it is truly your amplifier. Connect everything first. Connect the power adapter because, as I was mentioning, the SurfyPower does not have any volume control. When everything is plugged in, master volume at 0, you turn it on. Now, when you turn it on, the SurfyPower goes obviously at full power. We're talking about 200 watts at 4 ohm load, and probably a little bit less than 200 watts, and 100 watts on 8 ohm loads. The two speaker output, here they are, these two, are working in parallel. So you can plug in as many speakers you want, as long as you end up with the correct impedance, so 4 ohm or 8 ohm, remembering how much power it is sending out. So almost 200 watts in 4 ohm, 100 watts, 100 watts at 8 ohm. There is also a redundant line output because we didn't want to lose the functionality. You might like the sound that is coming out of here, or you might be in a stage situation in which you like to use the line out of your amplifier rather than the microphone in front of your cabinet. So this way you don't lose the functionality. You can use, for example, the cabinet as your personal monitor on stage, but you give the signal to the PA, to the sound guy, from this. It's not the perfect solution, not everybody likes it, but it can be something you can get used to, and if you like the sound, you can be very satisfied with what comes out of here, and it simplified a lot of work of everybody. But at the same time, we didn't want to lose the functionality. This is why we added this redundant line output. All right? So this is the combination of the two. There's nothing much more to say. It comes with a very nice package, as you see, perfectly in line with the colors also of the Brownface amplifiers in blonde. It fits perfectly with our blonde SurfyPower classic units, of course. Anti-scratch surface, so it's pretty durable, and we decided to put this finishing with a piece of oxblood grill cloth in front to make it more similar to an amplifier. We have optional also the bag that you can purchase at our dealers or our website, so you will be able to undo this thing, put it in a bag together with its own cables, and everything become pretty easy and transportable. So, SurfyMan, SurfyPower. If you have more questions, shoot through our email address, info@surfyindustries.com. So thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. I hope it has been helpful for you. to learn something more about SurfyMan and SurfyPower, I remind you to check our website surfyindustries.com, where you can find all the information in details, and don't forget to look at the download section where you can find the user's manual for all our products, between the pedals, preamplifiers, and of course reverb unit. So see you next time at the next event, Surfy Industries.